Will be a great opportunity for us to look at how exotic weapons are all becoming just a little bit more exotic. Talk to us a little bit about what your goals have been in reaching into the sandbox and making some of the most coveted weapons a little bit more dangerous.
The big goals that we were trying to hit with the exotic weapon pass that is going to be going live in May is that we wanted to increase the feeling of exoticness or power or sort of a specific gameplay experience that was happening with each exotic weapon. Basically, with the focus of just making everything stronger, faster, better, just pushing everything a little bit harder. And we wanted to do that in a way that was leaning into the exotic fantasy or the gameplay that we'd already established with the weapons on release. So we weren't trying to make any like drastic changes to how these things play. If you already know how they play, if you already like them, or if there's one that like you feel like it could be better, but it just needs a little something, that gameplay is still gonna be pretty familiar to you. It's just gonna be a lot more effective, hopefully in every activity that you like playing.
Okay. Well,
Like Fighting Lion that you see here is now a beast, and John can tell you everything it does, but it is one of my personal favorites. I've been running it like crazy in playtest.
Yeah, the thing we did to Fighting Lion to make it a little bit better is we gave it more ammo, and we basically did a small adjustment to how damage works on it. So we added more damage to the detonation and took a little bit off the impact. So it places a little less pressure on trying to get that grenade to hit and makes the detonation a little bit more friendly.
Lets you reach out and touch people.
Yeah, it just makes it a little bit more reliable. Oh my God, it's fun.
That was some hot potato action for me just now.
this design pass, did it include all of the exotic weapons, or did you pick some very specific targets that you wanted to focus on?
Almost all of them. There's only a handful that didn't get touched, and because we felt those ones were already playing pretty well or already getting relatively positive feedback from the community. And because we did have a limited amount of time, we wanted to make sure we were hitting all the stuff that really needed a good pass.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if Fighting Lion is one that you're really enjoying, Josh, John, what are you looking forward to getting your hands on when the 1.2.0 update kicks off Season 3?
I'm really excited about the Graviton Lance. I know we talked about it a whole bunch, but I think that one just came together really nicely. I think it's going to be a really good weapon for all activities. Yeah, it's going to be great. I think it'll definitely, in the PvP world, it'll definitely give Vigilance Wing a run for its money, for sure.
Well, we are in the PvP world right now, so maybe we can see a little bit of Graviton Lance.
Oh, another thing, while I remember, another thing we did to Fighting Lion to make it a little bit better is if you are still, it has more ammo now, if you are still feeling some ammo pressure, if you get a kill with the grenade, it guarantees a special ammo, an energy ammo brick to drop. Cool. Do we have any good snipers we could watch?
Oh, damn! You're welcome to go take a seat, Captain.
All right, fine. Oh, well, that wasn't it.
Switch something out.
Yeah, you should. You should.
We've got Risk Runner. What did you do to Risk Runner?
Risk Runner, so currently Risk Runner, when you take arc damage, you're resistant to arc damage, and it activates the arc overdrive perk, where basically the gun comes to your life and just like blasts everything with electrical energy. We increased the amount of arc damage resistance you get when the weapon activates, and then we enabled that for PvP. So now you can run Risk Runner.
Yeah.
If you get hit with arc damage in PvP, you will take half damage from the arc source. It will turn on the arc damage or the arc overdrive perk, making the weapon way more lethal. And then another thing we did is that we allowed the arc overdrive perk to enable when you have it stowed. So you don't have to have it out. If you have the weapon backpacked and you take arc damage, it's going to turn on. You're going to get a notification like, hey, it's party time. Time to pull out Risk Runner, ready to go.
Party time.
But important distinction for the PvP players is that you only get the damage resistance when the weapon is in your hand.
Okay.
So the perk can activate when you take damage, but you have to pull it out to be able to get the damage resistance.
Second match is coming up. We're going to play some Clash. Map settings being tweaked. Saw that Skyburner's Oath had been equipped.
Yeah.
Skyburner's Oath has actually been a favorite of mine. I've used it in Crucible, which is rare for me to use a Scout in Crucible. What have you done to my baby?
This got the most, probably one of the biggest changes.
Yeah, it took a long time. It took a long time to like really dial in how the projectile was going to work. But basically, we talked about this in the TWAB a little bit ago, but Skyburner's Oath had, sorry.
I'm kidding. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. It's an inside joke. It's an inside joke.
Skyburner's Oath had it had a relatively like good amount of utility and power. It was a pretty strong weapon. It just didn't have any spectacle. When you used it, it just sort of felt like one of the other legendary guns. Even though it was pretty strong, it was pretty effective for most activities.
Yeah.
And so we just kind of wanted to give it some sparkle, some pizzazz. And so what we did is we sort of like looked at the duality nature of the weapon, where it fires fast from hip and then fires slow when you ADS. And we just sort of like, okay, let's make a more distinctive separation here between hip fire and aiming down sights. So now aiming down sights is going to behave like it did, fire slow, high impact, precision damage. We put explosive rounds on the weapon, so anytime you hit with any play style, it's going to explode and do some damage. But then for the hip fire, what we did is we slowed down the projectiles, and we sort of like put a little bit of gravity on them, so you're kind of lobbing these like, almost feels like a rapid fire grenade launcher.
Okay.
And then we put some, the first attempt at doing that was like, okay, this is fun. Like I can see the sort of the feeling of how this is going to work, but it was pretty hard to actually like hit targets with a slower projectile. So we're like, screw it, man. We're trying to make exotics strong and awesome. Let's put some tracking on this thing, so you kind of don't have to aim all that much.
Target-seeking rounds.
Yep.
All right.
The first version of that was strong.
It was insane.
Show me those
It was
target-seeking
really
rounds.
strong.
That's
And,
nasty.
it would
Yeah.
track you down.
Yeah.
Oh, look at that. Look at that. That is awesome. That's going to be fun, man. That is going to be fun.
Yeah, definitely great to like how Kevin's using it here. It's a really fun weapon to use as a warlock. It's sort of you're like strafing through the
from
air
the
and
air.
just sort of raining fire, almost like you're some kind of sky burner.
Oh, God. Look
There
at
it is.
that. Have
Wow.
fun with your
Wow.
puns. Have fun with your groan-worthy puns.
Oh,
You got caught
What
up.
was that?
that was Hardlight.
And what have you done to Hardlight?
Hardlight, we basically gave it the same functionality that Borealis has now, where you can hold down you can hold down the reload button to change damage types on the fly.
Okay.
And then we did something that I'm really excited about. So one of the things that people know and love about Hardlight, of course, as you can see there, is that it bounces willy-nilly all over the place.
Indeed.
The utility of that is not super strong. There's a lot of spectacle there. It feels like a laser light show, but trying to actually pull something off with that has been difficult. So what we did is, with Hardlight now, every time a bullet ricochets, it gets double damage. So if you're bouncing stuff around the corner, you're going to be doing twice as much damage. A little bit harder to hit, but when you do
Pays
get the
out.
hits, it's going to pay off.
Blind firing,
Yeah.
high risk reward.
And I am really excited to see what kind of montage material we can get from people doing trick shots, bounce shots, like shooting at the ground in front of somebody to have it bounce up and hit them and then melt them instantly.
Right. Well, as much as I'm loving the Skyburner's Oath exhibition here, I'm wondering if we can get, as much as you've talked about Graviton Lance, I'm wondering if we can get a Graviton Lance equipped on that character. Thank you so much.
This is going to be disgusting.
Okay.
Kevin's
and
gonna
why will
destroy
this be
these guys.
why will this be disgusting?
It's just good. Like we use the power of math to make sure the time to kill on Graviton is pretty competitive. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, time to kill has been a frequent topic of conversation in our community. How does Graviton Lance specifically answer that question? You said the power of math. You're just making this weapon more lethal, more power. Well, look at that.
Yeah. So basically, so one of the things we did to Graviton is we made it a 2-round burst instead of a 3-round burst. So the first bullet's a little bit weaker.
Uh-huh.
The second bullet is much stronger with a little bit harder kick. But that's one bullet less that you have to fire, so it's already got a competitive advantage against other pulse rifles. And as we were making these changes for May, changes were also happening in tandem for the Go Fast update, which we released a little bit ago.
Yeah.
And as most people know, pulse rifles got a significant buff. And when those changes sort of like rolled our
Came
way
together,
and we
yeah.
play tested, we were like, holy crap, this thing's amazing. And then it was sort of one of those moments where like, do we change it? Do we keep it? What do we do? We're like, screw it. Plays great. People love it. We're just going to keep it. So yeah, pulse rifle buff made this thing pretty awesome. And yeah, we're just gonna let it roll, see how it goes.
For the first 3 years of Destiny, we presided over a lot of conversations about certain weapons being OP. Certain weapons had reigns of terror throughout the course of different sandbox updates. With Destiny 2, a lot of the feedback has been nothing's OP.
Yeah.
And they wanted some of those rough edges to come back.
Yep.
Looks like you're doing that.
Yep, absolutely.
Speaking of rate of fire changes and things like that, Crimson?
Crimson, yeah. Crimson's getting better. Crimson is not necessarily going to have a flashy update like Skyburner. If you know how to use Crimson, it's going to be play the same. It's going to be very consistent.
Oh no.
What we did to make Crimson a more competitive option for PvP. Oh, and just for the whole game, the first thing we did was
Watch the taunts.
one of the biggest pieces of feedback about Crimson was that I run out of ammo too fast. So we addressed that. We gave it a whole bunch more ammo.
There it is now.
For the competitive world, we basically looked at Crimson as we want to try and match the time to kill of an aggressive family hand cannon, which is 3 shots to the head. It was interesting trying to solve that because Crimson is a 3-round burst, and it also, the burst fires a little bit slower than a pulse rifle because we wanted to make it still feel like a hand cannon. We actually tried it early on in Curse of Osiris. We tried firing Crimson as a 3-round burst like the sidearm, and it just made it feel really light, sort of like, it felt like you were using a sidearm with funny art.
Yeah, it did not feel like a hand.
So we actually we increased the damage on the bullets and then slowed down the burst, so it really felt a little bit chunky. But anyways, trying to match the exact time to kill to an aggressive hand cannon meant doing some specific tuning to precision damage and basically the rate of fire. So we slowed down, or sorry, we sped up the.
Everyone saw that coming.
We sped up the time between bursts to be able to match the cadence of an aggressive hand cannon. And then to be able to match the exact time in shots to kill, we had to make it so that the first bullet of the final burst is the killing blow of Crimson. So because it fires
2 free bullets.
3 rounds per burst, you actually have a lot of room for error there. So you can afford to get in some body shots or miss a couple rounds. And you'll still be competitive with aggressive hand cannons.
Yeah. Cool. If you were to place a bet, what gun do you think is going to be a standout? Uh-oh, there it comes.
Yeah.
Are you going to go to Sturm? You're not going to go Rat King? All right, your choice. Your choice. We're talking about hand cannons.
See if you can get some of those crispy 2 taps.
Give me some crispy 2 taps. Not bad.
There we
Not
go.
bad at
So
all.
He's got it primed.
he's now got a primed overcharge bullet, which means he can get a 2-shot kill if he doesn't miss. So how this one is going to work is Sturm and Drang are paired weapons. There it is. So you get a kill with Drang. It automatically...
Oh, you're just so bored with yourself. You're just so awesome. You're so bored with yourself.
Getting a kill with Drang automatically reloads Sturm, and it adds 1 bonus round to the magazine. A new functionality with Sturm is that any overloaded round, so Sturm has a default magazine of 12, it goes up to 20. So rounds from 12 to 20 are going to have a significant amount of bonus damage.
But you only need 1.
But you only need 1 overcharged round plus 1 normal round shots to the head to get a kill in Crucible. And then in the PvE world, you can get kills with Drang all day, overload Sturm up to 20 rounds, and be sitting pretty.
All right. Well, those are the 2 Crucible matches that we were going to play today. Some good pearls there about the exotic weapon tuning. We don't need to reveal every single detail on stream.
No.
Might as well, we do love watching our exotic weapon reviews from our community, and that will be a good opportunity for us to understand if we've gotten closer to the sweet spot. We'd love to hear your opinions about these